What if your struggles with food wasn't about willpower? A still, scared, wanting to be seen, instrumental in healing your relationship with your body and with your food. And that is the inner child. And if this speaks to you, what I'm going to say is I'm going to open up a few spots for my Peace with Food and Body Confidence session. I'll tell you about it later. So I'm Marla. I'm creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself. I help people to feel good about their bodies and their food. I've written a book called Befriend Yourself. I have done a lot of deep healing, and the healing that has lasted and has stuck is been working with the inner child and working in this experience. So why does the inner child matter? Well, the inner child matters because there's a part of you that has developed beliefs around love and safety and needs and belonging that we received as a young child. We're still working that out right now. Right? I have found that working with the inner child, and some people call it parts work, but working with the inner child is a shamanic journey. It's literally going back inside and bringing these parts of us that were been misunderstood, not loved, not cared for in the way that are being needed at that specific moment in time, going back in and giving that part of us, that inner child, the love, the connection, what it needed at that moment. So when we binge or we restrict, it's often a younger version of us that is coping the only way that they know how. And so healing that child brings deep safety. And this changes everything. This is the thing. It doesn't just change, it changes the behavior. It changes the fabric of our being. That's why this work, the work of healing your relationship with food. And yes, I want you to stop binging. I want you to stop obsessing. I want you to find the freedom that you deserve and that is available for you. I'm in it for you to heal these parts of you that need deep, deep love on a very deep level. So some people will say to me, Marla, I don't really have a whole lot of trauma. Like my family was great. Like I get it. Like that's how I feel. Like my parents, they're so loving. And I grew up in a very beautiful, loving home. There's still dysfunction, right? They're still human beings doing their best. And what I have noticed is that when I don't have judgment of them and I'm actually able to see, oh, in these moments, I wasn't cared for the way that my being needed. And so I can go in and be with that part of me. So the signs that your inner child are driving your relationship with food. If you're eating for comfort when feelings and emotions are overwhelming, when your inner critic is really, really loud, okay, like loud, when you're feeling out of control and then you're ashamed afterwards, when you know that the binging or the restricting or whatever that behavior, when you know intellectually that it's not going to help, like you see it, you know the aftermath of it, you're like really quite aware, your adult self is like, what the heck? Why am I still doing this? I don't want to be doing this. I have no desire to do this. And yet it still happens. That's when you know there's an inner character, an inner child that is not safe without it. And they're running the show here. Another way that you're going to know is if you're constantly striving to be good. So with food and to earn love and earn worth with your body, with how you're eating, you're hearing voices of family, you're hearing the imprints that we've been given from diet culture. It's often the inner child is like activated. So this isn't about blaming your past at all. It's about understanding your inner world because we actually want to be with it with compassion. That's what's so exciting about this. Okay, so another way that it shows up that you can tell is when you do a behavior, like I said, you don't want to do, and then you have all this shame. Shame is just like, I know I'm not supposed to do that. Why am I still doing that? And all this shame comes up. Okay, so let's talk about what healing looks like. Healing looks like you doing it differently. You don't shame that part of you. You literally say, I talk about compassion all the time, right? I talk about how being compassionate to yourself after a binge is so important. So this is kind of like the inner workings of how I work with my clients. It's like, we're not just being compassionate, we're being compassionate to the part of us, to the inner child who thought that doing this was going to help. So when we have an inner child that's activated, sometimes they're angry, they're pissed off, they're sad, they don't trust us, like all these things, and they want to get our attention. And that's sometimes the only way that they can get our attention. They're looking for love, but they're looking for love in all the wrong places, right? And so when we have that moment of shame that wants to come up and we don't do the shame, we actually are like, oh, my part of me still thinks that this behavior is going to help. Who is that? What does she need? What does he need? What is here? How can I be with this? So this is reparenting is what we're doing. We're giving yourself what you didn't receive. So we are saying to the part of us that is the most shamed of our behavior, I love you even still. You can act out, I love you even still, right? That is a powerful statement, to love yourself even still and to love this inner child. So what healing can look like is offering safety through your tone, through your choices, through your presence, and speaking to yourself with the softness you wish someone had shown you. Okay, so let me give you some examples of this. Like I said, I do this work with people. This is a lot of what I do. And what I want to say is some of these places that we go are pretty deep, and it can be really challenging to go to these places on our own. I do this work. I teach this work, and I still have my mentor hold space for me when I'm going into some of these places because it can feel very disorienting. And that's why we often need someone to help. Okay. So I just want to say that it is important to have often someone hold space for us. Now, once we get in the groove with this part of us, we can actually bring this healing into our lives. That can be like a daily communication with our inner child or a daily setting up safety for the inner child, getting to know how to create trust. Gosh, so many inner children that are connected to my food. But I just remember this one situation that would just haunt me. And it was when my inner child was so angry. And that shows up as an inner critic. She's like, was around going out for food, going out with friends, with family, going to a potluck, being around a lot of food and a lot of people. You're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look stupid. You're going to eat. People are going to look at you. I mean, she was just like angry, 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 angry. And what do we really want to do? Let's face it. When we have the inner critic, we're often told to don't listen, bypass it, just like move into a happy feeling. That can work, but sometimes we need to confront that voice full on. And so instead of trying to shut this voice up and be like, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine, I turned to it. I said, what do you need? What's going on here? Why are you yelling at me? And I identified this was like a 14-year-old version of me. And she, 14-year-old inner child talks very different than a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old, right? So the 14-year-old was really angry. And when I started to have communication with this 14-year-old, and I got her to calm down and I got her to feel into what she needed, she was scared. She was scared. And then I could meet her. I know you're scared. I know I'm scared too. I get it. When we go to these events, it can feel scary. And then what do you need? I'd ask her, what do you need? And she's like, don't eat anything there. I'm like, that's not going to happen. Right. And it's like, what else would make you feel safe? Can you not have any brownies? I can do that. I can do that. And so I didn't have any brownies. And I came back to her later on that day that night and I said, I didn't have any brownies. And actually, no one said we were stupid or looked at us wrong. And that trust bond was being created. And now I knew when I had that inner critic really, really loud in my head, that I knew that was that part of me that I needed to be calming and connected to. So that's just one example. I'll give you another example. This happens a lot. The binging is often started at a very young age. I had one client who shared with me how he was having dinner with his family, and every time they all got together, the parents would fight. And there was so much tension that he would just go in like this and he would just eat his food, and then he would just eat more, and he would just get really, really like immersed in the food. And then sometimes he would go into his bedroom and eat more and more. And it was a way that he literally collapsed his field, went into the food, gave himself nourishment, gave himself protection, and wasn't connected to the environment. And food can do that to us. It can A, give us pleasure, A, give us comfort, A, give us love, and it can also create that sort of food coma experience that we kind of like almost we go so deep in with the food. Oh, it's almost like we leave our body. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but I've had that experience and it can feel disorientingly comfortable. And so we worked with that part of him. We worked with like, well, what do we need to do here, right? How can we strengthen this relationship with this younger part of you? It was building that relationship up and giving nourishment and care and releasing that trauma, that wounding of the fighting in the field. So it's, as you can see, it can be a pretty deep journey where it becomes less about the food and more about loving ourselves, more about learning about ourselves, more about being willing to see that the next diet, the next control mechanism, the next experience with our food that we're wanting to fix, it's not going to quite cut it, right? It can cut it for a while. It can calm maybe one of the inner children because it's like, oh, they're in control, but it doesn't actually heal. And I'm here for the healing, right? And I'm here to hold space for someone who is ready to do that healing. So as I said, I have my Peace with Food and Body Confidence sessions. They're on application basis below. They are free. They're for the person who is wanting to lean in, who knows that, you know what, like I can feel that there's something here that needs to be worked on, who's aware, or maybe not even aware fully, but like I'm kind of activating something inside of you that's noticing that, okay, I realize this isn't about the food. This is about something inside of me. And there's a part of you that's being like, ooh, I can feel it, right? So go ahead and fill out that application and I'll be in touch with you if I feel like I can support you and help you. If I don't think I can, then I'll give you some resources that I think will be able to help you. And then go ahead and get my book, Befriend Yourself, Finding Peace with Food and Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. Yeah, that's my book. All right. Sending you so much love. And I'm sending love to that little inner child in there that wants that love and wants to know that they're cared for and loved. Sending some love to you right now. All right. Have a wonderful day.